welcome to you, sir. Mr. Gary Griffith, former Commissioner of Police of our nation, and it's an honor to have you on with us tonight, in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Pastor. It has been a while. I think it's about a year or two since I last have been on this station. It is indeed an honor, and it's good to be back on after a few years.
Okay, so welcome, Gary Griffith. Well, I was almost said, do you all still carry or refer to your rank, your former rank when you were in the defense force? In other words, are you still Captain Gary Griffith? I don't know what the protocol is.
Well, yeah, there's so much debate about that now. Usually, after you unless it is that you resign or you're dishonorably discharged, if you have a service commission appointed by the president, you keep that rank. So it's still referred to as, that's why you'll have Captain Arthur Cipriani. The previous president of the Jamaica Football Association was Captain Horace Burrell. So if it is that, and I did not, I got an honorable discharge and I left after 17 years service. So persons can refer to me as retired captain. They could sometimes they refer to me as retired senator. They could call me anything they want. You all could please feel free to call me Gary.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say that because of the whole nation knows you as Gary. So if I slip and say Gary, you'd excuse me. So let me ask Gary. Gary, do you believe that this nation could really be run using Christian principles, biblical Christian principles? You really believe that this country, I'm talking about Trinidad and Tobago now, because you're Trinidadian and you know what is going on. You're involved in politics and you're involved, also at the level of national security and that sort of thing. Do you really believe that that can happen?
Yeah, Professor, definitely. It must happen. It is not an option. It is not negotiable. And when I speak about that, you see, I know there's that concern about politics. But when you look at the meaning of the word politics, politics has to do with governance. Politics has to do with serving. And that actually filters down whether it is a company, whether it is a school, whether it is a church. And apart from using the word Christianity, I mean, I would like to use the word religion. So persons not to perceive that whether it is you're another faith outside of Christianity, the religion is so critical towards good governance in a country. Because the same way that in religion, you have good, there is evil. And evil plays a very big part that you will see in politics throughout the world. And that evil comes about. You would have seen the evil where it is like for myself, where I would have spent as a commissioner of police, there were 43 death threats on me. Evil was trying to kill me, kill my family. And I was doing what was required as a servant of my God to serve persons. And the end result is there would be persons, and they still do, would have done everything in their power to try to destroy me. Because evil will always try to destroy good. And that is why politics is so important. Because if the persons who are political can understand the value of religion, many of the things they do, they would not be doing as it pertains to corruption, trying to hate, trying to divide, trying to be racist, trying to destroy. All of those words are evil that you will see in religion of persons who try to turn to that part of evil. If politicians try to understand the value of good, the value of religion being there to serve your God, how could you want to serve your God and you're doing things that may be corrupt or trying to deliberately arrest political opponents? And even as it comes to national security, what we saw in Arima, that was evil. When I was Commissioner of Police and Minister of National Security, I understood the importance of getting citizens. If every citizen could have that fear of God, then you would not do what happened in Arima. And that is why I, as a Commissioner of Police, if I am to be a servant of my God, it started from my early teens when I actually went to service with Pastor DeBoog, and then my whole family, from Reverend Margaret Lee and Jesus is the Answer and Diego Martin, my whole family, they are heavily involved in the Christian community, and they serve their God, they are servants of their God. My concept is, if I am here to be a servant of my God, I will use politics as an avenue. And sometimes I use me as being a commissioner of police, because if certain individuals who are evil do not have that fear of God, I decided for them to have that fear of Gary to ensure that the law-abiding citizens could be protected.
How do we get the people, the right people in the right places to govern, or right places of governance? places, position of authority? How do we get the right people there? Guys, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, Professor, and again, remember, where do politicians come from? They come from our society. So politicians, they're a reflection of our society, and vice versa. When many persons decide to be politicians, sometimes they do it with the right intentions. But you know what it is, when that product of opportunity is there, when evil presents itself and it gives you start off and I really want to serve my country. And then you see that all you have to do is to sign something and you could get a kickback of millions of dollars. And that is where the evil shifts. So you lose focus of those three principles, which is why when Pastor Brown spoke about the military, I'm not here to blow the trumpet of the power of persons in the military, because they've been good and bad people in the military as well. But that is why it is seen as the most noble of all professions, because that is where it is, you have put your hand on a Bible and you're willing to take a bullet and give your life for a stranger. That alone sets the tone of you being a child of God. You are willing to give the ultimate sacrifice. It is not coincidental that 31 of the 45 US presidents all had military service. Being in the military, it gives you that understanding that you're here to serve, not just to lead. You're here to be a servant. And what is important is to be politicians. When they remain as politicians, you have to remember three things. Who do you report to? Who do you serve? Your God, your country, and the people in that country. That is the chain of command. You remember that. You are not going to shift towards being corrupt. You're not going to spend your time, let's try to demonize the other side. Let's try to destroy them. There are political leaders that spend all of their time spitting hate, division, even try to be racist, to divide the country because you want to win. You want to have that Prado and the security and the big contracts. And you forget, narrow is the path that leads to righteousness, but broad is the way that leads to destruction. And you get all of the fancy things. And that is why it is so important that politicians must ensure they keep those moral values, the family values, understanding what you are there for. The day you forget that, you have now lost the evil. And that is why me, even as I see myself more as a patriot than a politician. When I was Minister of National Security, I stood firm on principle. And I did not become the minister after that because I stood firm on something. When I was Commissioner of Police, I stood firm on principle. There was a recommendation for me to have people arrested in their homes. And me, if I wanted to keep my job, keep my work, and keep my security, I would have just blindly done that. But then what I would have done is incarcerated law-abiding citizens wrongfully, which is what happened in 2011, because a commissioner of police didn't stand firm to say, we cannot do this. So I will be prepared to lose my job, lose my life, stand on principle. You stand on principle, you keep those moral values as a politician. That plays a big part towards transforming a country.
Okay. I hear you. And okay, so you're one man. How do you get more of you then? How do you multiply yourself, Mr. Griffith, to get people who think like that, who say, listen, I will stand for righteousness and truth. I will not, because as you said, people start off, politicians start off with good intention. But when you see opportunity and the ease at which these opportunities come, it does something to you. And so, you start off on the right path and you end up on the wrong path. How do we keep them on the right path? That's the question I'm asking. I don't know if that question could be answered, but I'm asking it.
Yeah, Professor, easily. It is not impossible, but it is not going to stop wholly. There's no way you're going to find a country that is corrupt free. That will be all politicians are good Christians and they will serve their God, and that will never happen. But if you put, as me being a leader, I understand the importance of providing deterrence, taking away products of opportunity to make it difficult for that individual, because that is what crime is. Crime is a product of opportunity. The greater the deterrent, the less likelihood that person would commit that crime because he knows there's a possibility of them being apprehended. So that is what I operated as a commissioner of police. And I tried my best to find ways to serve my country. But it's very difficult, Professor. When I could actually go into a place and find 63 elderly persons in cages, 6 foot by 6 foot, some of them naked, their locks are on the outside, they are in shackles, they are tasers, and I released them. That was slavery going on in my own country. and then they're all, the persons who did it, they're all released, no fault of our justice system, but by other individuals who know exactly why they didn't provide the evidence and the data and so forth. Those things must hurt, because you know that there's so much evil in our society, and it is starting to filter out to such a way where we have now trivialized it, we have taken it for granted, when 5 young persons could be killed in Arima in cold blood. But the big talking point is saying enough is enough because we are going to lose the president's ground to play football. That becomes the bigger talking point. It says so much about our society, which is why I, as a political leader, I will always put country before politics. That's why I said I'm willing to help this present government to assist, because when I was the commissioner of police that last year, the country felt safer. Criminals, they pegged back. They saw the product of opportunity was no longer there. But evil has such power in this country. People who are not religious, they figured it is going to affect my business. He can arrest some of my my associates who may have criminal enterprise. It could affect me in my corruption and my kickback. And then their job now is to try to discredit Gary Griffith as much as possible, because even though what I'm trying to do is to serve my country, protect my people, evil is there. And it is important for politicians to remember that, for citizens to remember blindly supporting political parties because of that. It is no longer just a cult, Professor. It is a cult where they can blindly support political parties, see wrongdoing, know what they're doing is evil, but still support them because you feel that I am supporting it because of my race or because that is the way it is. No, it must not. We must start supporting persons based on right. Support persons based on if that person or those individuals can transform our country. And that is my intention.
Every single one of them takes that oath of office. My question is, how many really take it seriously? 1, and 2, what are the consequences of not doing so?
I'm not sure who is going to tackle this, if it's Pastor Brown or Gary.
Well, it has to do with persons needing understanding the importance of values. Values, if it is you lose the values, and again, there's something I remembered when I was Minister of National Security. I did a massive campaign to unify the country. And you can actually go on it. It's something that is in the United States. It's called values.com, pass it on. And it has so many important values to ensure that a country can build, from integrity, ethics, bullying, family values, loyalty. And if people try to keep those values, especially politicians, you stick to those values, it is going to be difficult for evil to actually cause you to shift to the point that you will turn a blind eye, and a box drain that costs $500,000 you'll give to your friend to do it for $15 million, because these things become byproducts of inflation, of higher, more crime taking place, criminal elements getting contracts, purchasing more firearms, more drugs, hiring more gang members to put hits on other gangs. Politicians are directly responsible for all of these things. And it is because they have forgotten those values. And again, going back to the importance, Professor, of religion, whilst religion must play probably the most fundamental part in politics, is a politician must understand that if you lose those values, you have now forgotten, Mr. Allen, what you just said, you have forgotten that oath in office, because you have to remember, when I had my situation as a minister and there was that incident, and as a commissioner of police, with that incident with the Prime Minister, every time in my head, I kept praying to my God to make the right decision, remembering my values and remembering my oath in office. The day you forget those words that Mr. Allen just said, you'll start losing those values. And even if you want to start forgetting those values because you want to enjoy and bask in the fruits of the success you can get from being a politician through kickbacks and markup and trying to destroy the character of others so you could stay in power, there's going to be a day called Judgment Day. So even if you are religious, you must remember that day as well, because you are going to pay the price. So for 20 years or the next 30 years to live luxury, and then till thy kingdom come, you are going to have to pay for that on Judgment Day. All of that has to be important in a politician understanding the importance of religion and the importance of values. The day the politician loses that is when it is he should be removed. But unfortunately, we can have political leaders that can kill persons in cold blood in downtown Port of Spain and you could still have 100,000 people still vote for that party, because that is how they have to change that. You have to put that mindset to know, I must support persons who honestly believe that they are going to serve. They may not be perfect. I am certainly not perfect. But one thing I would ensure is that I will swear that oath in office to my God, my country, and then my people.
Just to make some closing remarks, maybe we could start with retired Captain Griffith.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so quickly, again, the concept of politics, that actually has to do with everything related to the governance of a country. So that being the case, automatically it will mean now that that a church religion, it must be part, they must have a direct involvement in politics, because it has to do with governing a country. And again, I have seen politicians be very cosmetic when it comes to religion. They attend every single service from every religious aspect in the hope that they can get votes. They sometimes appoint persons and say, listen, I have to appoint a Muslim to get the Muslim votes. And that's a cosmetic approach of politics. As it pertains to the church itself, I will insist that there must be involvement. I have decided to bear that cross, and it is very difficult. I could have done the easy thing, but we need to find persons who are willing to do that. And if it is that, we remember, when it is you become a politician, what do? You swear on a Bible. So all Christians should hold the politicians accountable, because if you have put your oath on something and you are breaching that oath, it is the right of us as Christians to come and say, listen, we must hold you accountable. It is not for that religious organization to show any major bias towards one party over another. But I think it is fair game for persons in church to remind persons in the congregation, are you looking at politicians? Is he or she involved in hatred, in division, in trying to just arrest people illegally, in trying to divide the nation? Or is he or she somebody who really cares, who really wants to try to bring a country together, who's really trying to secure a country, serve a country? That must be involved in the church. So the church must definitely be involved, just by one word, holding politicians accountable.
Thank you.